Okay, so have you ever had that moment, like, when you're doing something and, like, a little voice just pops into your head and screams, "Nope, bad idea."
Yeah, totally. Like, sending that email to the wrong person or, accidentally hitting reply all.
Exactly, that cringing feeling of, "Oh, no, what have I done?" But what if that feeling stretched out for, like, a whole hour and a half? Stuck in a place where there's absolutely no escape.
Yeah, like that fight or flight response kicks in, but the flight part is just completely unavailable.
You're trapped. And that's kind of the scenario we're diving into today, a deep dive into the movie Locked with Anthony Hopkins and Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah, a psychological thriller where those feelings of dread and no escape are really front and center.
Right. And if you're into thrillers or those kind of stories that get under your skin, or if you're just curious about what these two amazing actors bring to the table, then this is for you. We're going to break it down and give you the need to know without you having to actually watch the movie.
Yeah, think of it as like a cheat sheet or like a highlight reel of Locked. We'll cover the setup, the characters, the tension, and really get to the core of the film without you having to hit play.
Exactly. So picture this. It's the beginning of the movie, and we meet Eddie, played by Bill Skarsgård. You know him from It, right? But here, he's not a creepy clown. He's this desperate guy drowning in debt. I think a lot of people can relate to that feeling of just being in way over your head financially.
It's a pretty common experience, unfortunately, and that desperation is what drives Eddie to make some really bad choices.
Oh, yeah. He sees this opportunity as a shiny, expensive car just sitting there. It seems like a simple plan, almost too good to be true.
Right, and that's the initial hook. You kind of understand where Eddie's coming from, even though what he's doing is definitely wrong. You almost feel a little sympathy for him at first.
Yeah, but here's where that little voice screaming bad idea should have been deafening. This isn't just any car Eddie's trying to steal. It belongs to William, played by Anthony Hopkins. And this car, it's not your average vehicle. It's more like a rolling torture chamber designed by someone who's, well, a little off.
It's less about transportation and more about control. The car becomes an extension of William's will, a tool to exert his power and punish.
A very twisted tool. I mean, we're talking bulletproof glass, soundproof walls. So whatever's happening inside, no one can hear Eddie's screams. There's a special phone, his only connection to William, who's basically his unseen puppet master.
And it's through that phone that William really starts to play mind games, with Eddie controlling the situation, manipulating his every move.
And let's not forget the fun little features built into the car, like tasers in the seats. Just imagine the shock of that. And the climate control that goes from freezing to scorching at William's whim. And then there's the music, this awful, repetitive music that I swear is designed to drive you insane. It's like someone took every bad sound in the world and put it on loop.
It's all about sensory overload and deprivation, creating this environment where Eddie is completely disoriented and vulnerable.
It's truly a nightmare scenario. And at the heart of it is Anthony Hopkins as William. His voice in this movie, it's just chillin', like honey mixed with poison. Every word he utters has this weight to it, this quiet menace that's so much scarier than any kind of outburst.
It's a masterclass in subtle acting, right? He conveys so much just through his tone and delivery, and it really makes you think about different kinds of power.
Totally. William's power isn't about physical strength. It's about being in control, always one step ahead. And it's messed up because he actually thinks he's doing the right thing. See, his daughter was murdered over a pretty small amount of money, like $1,600. And in his mind, the justice system failed him. So he's decided to take matters into his own hands to become judge, jury, and executioner.
Yeah, he's got this twisted sense of justice, this belief that he's balancing the scales, but his methods are so extreme that it just completely undermines any moral high ground he might think he has.
Absolutely. And it gets even weirder because he's got these really bizarre views about society. Like he thinks poor people are inherently lazy and rich people are always being targeted. It's a really unsettling worldview that makes his actions even more disturbing.
It definitely touches on some sensitive societal issues like wealth inequality and the feeling of being let down by the system. But it's important to remember that William's perspective is a very warped one. His actions are not justified in any way.
Not at all. And then you have Bill Skarsgård as Eddie, and it's so interesting to see him in this role because we're so used to him playing the villain, right? But here, he's the victim, and he's fantastic. He portrays this raw, desperate fear so convincingly, you actually start to root for him to escape this crazy situation.
Yeah, it really shows his range as an actor to go from Pennywise to this vulnerable, trapped character. It's quite impressive.
And the things Eddie goes through are brutal. There's this one scene where he tries to shoot out the window, completely forgetting it's bulletproof, and the bullet ricochets and hits him. It's almost darkly funny, but also So tragic because it just highlights how utterly powerless he is against William.
It's like one of those moments where you just want to yell at the screen, no, don't do that, but of course he can't hear us.
Right? And that's just the beginning. He faces starvation, dehydration, William's constant psychological manipulation. And those tasers, man, those tasers, they seem to go off at the worst possible moments. The whole movie is so claustrophobic, it just sucks you off. It makes you feel trapped right along with Eddie.
The film really nails that sense of confinement. There's no escape for Eddie. He's completely at William's mercy, both physically and mentally.
And that's where the movie really gets you thinking about bigger themes like justice and revenge. William is out for revenge for his daughter's death, but his methods are so twisted that it raises questions about the nature of justice itself. And then there's that whole class commentary woven in with William's rants about society. It makes you wonder what the movie's trying to say about these issues.
It's definitely a movie that wants to spark some deeper conversations, but some critics argue that it might not be the most subtle or nuanced in its approach.
Yeah, one reviewer said it was like someone trying to have a deep philosophical debate while trapped in a porta potty, which is a pretty vivid image, I think.
Yeah, it definitely gets to the point quickly and maybe sacrifices some subtlety for the sake of tension and thrills.
And let's not forget that almost the entire film takes place inside this car, right? It's actually a remake of an Argentinian movie called 4x4. So you can see why they were drawn to this kind of contained setting. It's budget-friendly and it creates this inherent tension. But honestly, being stuck in one location for that long, even if it's a really cool car, could start to feel repetitive if the story doesn't keep you hooked.
Exactly. The success of a movie like this depends on how well they develop the characters and the psychological battle between them. If you're not invested in that, then yeah, the single setting might start to feel limiting.
So let's recap. What are the key takeaways for you, the listener? Well, Locked is a pretty intense thriller, driven by some seriously strong performances. Anthony Hopkins is just terrifying as this vengeful, twisted character, and Bill Skarsgård really sells the fear and desperation of being trapped.
The whole premise is super compelling, and the psychological games between the two characters are definitely what keeps you watching. But it's worth noting that the plot might not blow your mind with its originality, and the themes the movie touches on might not be explored as deeply as some viewers would like.
Right, so if you're looking for a tight, suspenseful thriller with some amazing acting and you don't mind the whole movie taking place in one spot, then Locked is probably worth checking out. But if you're looking for something super complex with tons of plot twists and deep philosophical discussions, you might want to adjust your expectations a little.
Exactly, and that's really what this deep dive is all about. We want to give you a solid understanding of what Locked is all about, the good and the bad, so you can decide for yourself if it's something you'd enjoy.
And on that note, as you go about your day, maybe think about this. When does the desire for justice cross the line into becoming the very thing you're fighting against? William's actions are driven by grief, but they're also incredibly cruel. So where do we draw the line? What does Locke tell us about our own ideas of right and wrong and how far we're willing to go for revenge?
Some heavy stuff to ponder, for sure.
It is. And that concludes our shortcut for today. We hope this deep dive into Locked has given you a good overview and some things to think about. Until next time, keep exploring and stay curious.
And stay out of locked cars.
Definitely good advice. All right, that's it for us. See you next time on The Deep Dive.
Bye, everyone.